Hello everyone, my name is Silvia Núñez and today I'm gonna share with you what research has been finding in the last years in relation to multilingual identities in the early years of life. The first 5 years are crucial in the life of a child. Their brains are completely open to learning and integrating any language they are exposed to. During this sensitive period for language, a child can easily become multilingual. It is by observing, absorbing, and reproducing that children internalize their environment to fusion it with their inner world. As Abraham 2016 mentioned, it is through a personal experience and in interaction with the social, cultural, and political environment that individuals reconstitute and create new identities. These experiences legitimize children's choices as they interact in the hybrid space and empower their voice. Identity is about realizing and transforming one's purposes using science to accomplish meaningful action. Since the beginning of a child's life, language becomes a powerful tool to communicate. It helps them to understand the world around them and to express themselves. But language not only involves the reproduction of sounds and complete sentences. As Capoto describes, it is a rich symbol system embodied with meaning, thoughts, and emotions. Moreover, it is tied to identity, emotion, and ways of thinking, believing, and acting. But what happens when inside the child's repertoire there is more than one language? Learning languages can be seen as a journey in which children shape their identities by working with the linguistic and social contexts. And as they are constructing themselves every day, it is a process that never ends. It becomes a process in which every experience changes their perspectives of the world, adding new information to their repertoires. The reality of a globalized, interconnected world characterized by mobility of people, goods, and knowledge across physical and virtual spaces and time has had a significant impact on children's early experiences of language, literacy, and identity. Children learn to function in diverse language contact situations from birth or from a very young age. Research has shown that language and literacy development are closely related to the perceptions and values that parents attach to languages spoken at home, and these attributions are reflected as well in the ways in which they support the development of language. In an unconscious way, young children absorb the sensations, emotions, and values of their parents and the environment, integrating them as part of their own identity. But not only their home environment influences their self, there are other external factors impacting on their identity. The language ideology and messages that are being sent every day are received by children. Usually they promote a monolingual view where children are limited to combine their full repertoire, and as a consequence, negative attitudes and challenges in relation to the language identity can arise. These factors shape and reshape the multilingual identity, especially parents and teachers, who are the closest bonds for children, become models to be copied. Therefore, they should be cautious about the ways in which they model and use languages. All the input that the multilingual children receive will impact directly in the output that they produce. As well, everything is going to be inside one whole repertoire, and the scaffold and feedback that they receive can become like the training wheels to learn a language. Everything will be inside the repertoire, but in which ways are multilingual children developing compared to monolingual children? Talking about morphosyntax, Findings from research generally indicate that bilingual children exhibit the same rate of morphosyntactic development as monolingual children, at least in their dominant language. At the same time, there is evidence of cross-linguistic transfer of specific morphosyntactic features from one language into the other. Children might be more likely to incorporate structures from their dominant language into their weaker language than vice versa. Talking about words and their lexicon, studies have examined age of first word production. Report that bilingual children produce their first words at about the same age as monolingual children. That would be between 12 to 13 months. The relative amount of time spent in each language can affect the relative vocabulary size in each language. Also, phonology may be sensitive to the amount of exposure. In this specific feature, it's been shown that multilingual children have a bit of delay while identifying and recognizing phonetic constructs. In relation to metacognition, what research has shown is that children who have more than one language inside the repertoire show advantages in cognition. That means the mental process involved in knowing, learning, and understanding things, it's easier for these children. As well, children have a better understanding and awareness of the aspects of different languages and are able to describe it. But most of all, multilingual children tend to use code mixing. It is the use of elements from two languages or more in the same utterance or stretch of conversation. Rates of code mixing in children vary depending on the form of mixing, the nature of the mixed element, the language of the conversation, and the context. What is important to keep in mind is that children can make their own choices. When they are code mixing, they are deciding which specific piece they choose from their whole repertoire in order to maybe complete a gap filling, or depending on the person they're talking to, or even for pragmatic or symbolic symptoms and functions. So, knowing how important languages are in the identity of multilingual children, how can we support them in this process? First of all, we should validate their messages. Everything they produce should be accepted. We should be less judges and more open to see who they really are. We should follow them, personalize our approach to them. We have to give them the time that they need in order to really know who they are in this world. We should encourage creativity to express themselves, not only by speaking or by writing. There are thousands of artistic ways in which they can also express their messages and communicate with the world. We should respect and be proud of who they are, no matter what languages they're using and how they are using it. We should liberate their whole repertoire and move away from the monolingual bias that we have in society, so we can start seeing all the strengths in these children and not just the things they're lacking of. And finally, I invite you to see them as whole human beings, persons that have emotions, that also struggle sometimes, but as well they have this willing and curiosity for knowing more about the world that is surrounding them. Thank you very much for listening. Please leave your comments if you have anything to share, and I'll see you soon.